Hi, everyone. Welcome to Common Ground, and this is a place where we get to learn about everyday lives across the globe. So, what is your name? How old are you? And where are you from?
My name is Kibo. I am 18 years old and I'm from originally from Canada, but I currently live in Malta.
So could you walk us through a day in your life in Malta? What is a regular weekday like for you?
Yes, of course. So I'm actually a medical student here. And so I will wake up in the morning and usually I will go either to the gym or to a very new aquatic center that was recently built in the morning, probably from around 7 to 8 a.m. And then our class usually starts from 9. And so I'll up to the university and take a lecture or maybe one or two lectures in the morning. And then afterwards, we have something called practicals. And that's where we would learn clinical skills, like how to do an assessment. And so usually around from 1 a.m., 1 p.m., we would do clinical skills for around 3 hours till around 4 p.m. And then afterwards, I would go home. I usually take a shower, and then occasionally, every couple of days, we have badminton sessions. And so I would go to the local gym to play some badminton, and then afterwards, I'll go home. That usually lasts for around 2 hours, so probably around 6. Make dinner and go to sleep or study a bit and then go to sleep.
Okay. So, what is the school system like in Malta? Do you feel like it puts pressure on students to do well? And yeah,
Yes.
no,
Okay.
continue. Sorry.
Yes. So, although I did high school in Canada, I'm part of a EMS organization here in Malta, and so I interact with a bunch of people my age who want to do medicine, or a bit younger than me who want to do medicine, and I talk a lot about their school system here, so I know quite a bit. So their school system is extremely similar to the UK, where they do a standardized test at the end of the year instead of that the government puts out instead of, I don't know where you guys are from, but at least in Canada, we did just a general exam that the school would make. And so instead of
Yeah,
that,
that's
we
from
would,
I'm from the United States, so it's yeah.
you're from the
We
United
have like
States.
government provided exams.
So I guess it's like the SAT, but instead of the SAT, it's for every single subject that you do.
Hmm.
And then so your score would be from A, B, C. And then so as an example, um, at the end of the year, you'll say, I got two B's and a C. Or such like that. And in the UK, it's really easy to get A and then like an A star or an A star star, which is like the highest score that you can get, like an A plus plus. But in Malta, it's extremely difficult to get an A, and instead you need to get instead like the highest score, or one of the higher scores, or a B or even a C. And so it's not the same as in the UK or the US, where like a B or a C would be a lower mark, but in Malta it's a very high mark. And so, like, just to put that in perspective, in the at the University of Malta, you require two B's and a C in specific subjects to get into medical school. And so that's kind of like it's more difficult than in the United States.
So given like the difficulty of at least the school system, because it does sound like it is like tremendous, it's pretty difficult to get higher scores. Do you feel like it puts a lot of pressure on students to do well?
Um, so in my opinion, at least, I do believe that in certain senses it does force students to do a bit better. But in Malta, at least, there is a certain sense of um, generational wealth as well as a specific culture in Malta where school isn't 100% as prioritized as other things that go on people's lives. So at least in my opinion and from what I've heard from the people I work with, no, the higher standards don't necessarily mean better performance, if that
Okay.
answers your question.
Yeah, that does. So like not necessarily like kids don't really feel like pressurized to do good in school, but those who want to obviously have the opportunities to.
Yes, absolutely. That's a good way to put it.
Okay. So, given that, what are some ideal careers that like a lot of Maltese students, like especially those who want to do well, what are they like, what are some careers that they strive for?
Unfortunately, in Malta, because it is a very small island, right
Hmm.
next to the Italy, a lot of the kids' ambition here is to leave the island.
That's valid.
And yeah, so a lot of them, especially high performing students, would go to medical school at the University of Malta and would aim to practice medicine either in the UK or in the US. But mainly in the UK, especially because they have a specific Thai program where the foundation training that you do, which the foundation training is what you do after medical school, and that training is applicable both in Malta and in the UK. So a lot of these students will aim to do medicine or other certain subjects, and they will aim to leave the country.
So, like for those kids who want to do like well in academics, their goal is to leave the island so that they could make like a better living for themselves.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that is, yeah.
So, let's go off schooling for now. So, what are some like common things that you've seen people like in Malta do for leisure and fun? Like, what are some hobbies and activities that are like popular in Malta?
There is swimming. Swimming is a very big part of Maltese culture. And so a lot of these people I see, well, or a lot of these Maltese people that I talk to would be like, yes, like during the summer, every single day after work, I'll go swimming. And during the winter, because swimming isn't, it's the lake is still relatively warm, but you wouldn't go swimming in it, or the ocean is relatively warm. So instead, you see a lot of Maltese people go to the aquatic center as an example to go swim in a large pool. And so, yeah, in terms of leisure, a lot of these individuals swim a lot. And it makes sense because this is a small island with a bunch of beautiful beaches. Another thing, and a big thing that Maltese people do take seriously, and this is actually where I just came from, is soccer. And so, soccer, and Maltese people and the Maltese government invest a ton of money in soccer.
Mhm.
And so, in terms of like a leisure and it's more of like a professional thing, but just regular individuals out there will be playing in professional Maltese leagues. And so we have over 12 leagues in Gozo, 12 teams in Gozo alone, all and Gozo has a population of around 40,000. So just to put that in perspective, again, it's a very big part of Maltese culture, and that's what I believe is a main part of Maltese leisure activity is to practice soccer.
So a lot of like of if there's 12 teams for like 40,000 people, I imagine there's like a hefty amount of the population is invested in soccer.
Yes, yes, a very large population is.
So, are there like I'm not that like knowledgeable about Maltese culture, like even the geography of it. How are there like like bigger cities versus like rural like districts in Malta?
Yeah, so our main city, or the main capital of Malta is what we call Valletta, and it's a UNESCO heritage site, and that is in terms one of the larger cities. But the funny thing about Malta is that it's a lot of these cities are interconnected with each other, and so we have Slima, which is above, and we have another city which is below Valletta. And so in a map, it looks like a very large, like urban area, but in reality, it's just a bunch, just three cities that are kind of connected to each other. And then we have St. Paul's Bay, which is higher, and then we have another city that's above St. Paul's Bay. Um, and so I guess in terms of American standards, like it's not a city with like skyscrapers and stuff, but it is an urban area where a bunch of these individuals live. And so we do have those specific cities, but then and then there's also an island named Gozo, which is where I am, and it's a separate island that's roughly like 5 kilometers north, 5 kilometers off the shore of Malta, and our main city there is Victoria. And so that's a major city in Gozo. And it's not as major as like any US city, but it is for uh, Malta specifically. And in terms of rural areas, we don't really have rural areas. We have a bunch of cities, and then it's kind of connected with farmland. And so if you call those farmlands rural, then it is, I guess, rural. But
Mhm.
to be fair, Malta isn't that large, so really isn't any rural land. There's just patches of land that's like in between these larger cities.
Okay, no, that makes sense. So would you say that um living in Gozo, would you say that like city life is a little like is it expensive if you live closer or in the more like central part of the city? Is it more expensive than it is to live on the outskirts? Like,
Yeah, so living in terms of Malta, if it's almost impossible and unaffordable to live in Valletta, mainly because it's a UNESCO heritage site and there's a lot of demand for it. More expensive than probably any city in the US. But in terms of living anywhere outside of Valletta or Sulima, it is very affordable. Rent is usually around 900 euros a month. Even like for houses that are closer to this to a specific city center. Um, and then once you go to the outskirts, they become much cheaper for around like they lower down from like 700 to 600 euros a month for an apartment with two bedrooms and two bathrooms. And so, yes, well, in any society, a apartment would be expensive near the city center, but in Malta specifically, the rent is much lower.
okay. Yeah, that's pretty similar, I guess. If you live inside a bigger city, it's going to be far more expensive than it is to live outside of it.
Mhm.
And for my last two questions, so what is something you feel people who don't know about Malta, what would be something that they wouldn't expect?
Um, I guess the friendliness of the people here. There is kind of a stereotype that goes around, especially in the especially within the Maltese people, that uh, that they aren't as friendly as one would expect. There are some incidences that happen where Maltese people would harass or intimidate tourists. But in reality, especially in Gozo, these all the Maltese people are extremely nice. They will help you out if you have a question about the city or something like that. They're all very nice people. And so, like in general, there is kind of a stereotype going around that Maltese people aren't that friendly, but like one thing that will surprise you is that they're very, very friendly.
Yeah, I think for sure that like one experience can often like make up a bigger portion of a stereotype. So,
Hmm.
yeah, thank you so much for clearing that up. And finally, what is one message that you have for the rest of the world about Malta?
Um, I would say come and visit us because it's a beautiful place to come during the summer. We have beautiful beaches and a great history from one of the countries with one of the most UNESCO heritage sites per area. And so, yeah, just come visit Malta. It's a beautiful place to come during the summer, winter, fall, whenever.
Yeah, so thank you so much for this. This was a great experience, and I'll definitely consider visiting Malta as it does sound beautiful. So yeah, thank you so much.